15 seconds of video, right? It's worth a round of applause, isn't it? Good morning, everyone. Nice to see you all. Welcome. Croeso. I should say boneddigion, boneddigesau, croeso I bawb, wythnos technoleg Cymru. That's it. It's been 20 years since I learned Welsh. Sadly, now I reside in California and there's not as much opportunity as there used to be to speak a little Welsh, but it's great to be back here and it's great to be here in this fabulous conference center on this extraordinary day. There should be about 4,000 people that come to this event in the next couple of days. The first time that we've done this live and in person. And I'm sure you share my pride that an event like this is happening here in Wales. I need to tell you that there are no scheduled fire alarms. If one happens, it's my responsibility to tell you that you should go to the main entrance as quickly as possible. You can run if you want. We're honored today to have a number of special guests with us. Last night, we had our First Minister of Wales, Mark Drakeford, come join us. And later this morning, as you know, we have the Minister for the Economy, Vaughan Gething. Before I get into an opening speech, I'd just like to welcome His Excellency, the Honourable Stephen Smith, who is the Australian High Commissioner, who has travelled down from London this morning to spend the day with us. Stephen, it's wonderful that you're here. Thank you very much for coming and for your continued support of Wales, which I know is somewhere of great importance to you and the Australian government. Thank you. So, it's Wales Tech Week. It's a delight to see so many industries here at this conference. It's an event that celebrates innovation, collaboration, and of course the limitless potential of what technology can do. The way it's applied to the way we live, to the way we work, and of course to the way we play. We're here to showcase Wales on a global stage. We've earned the right to achieve this because we're a home of innovation, we're a home of opportunity, and we're a home of businesses of all sizes. As you all know, in today's society, the role of technology has never been more significant. Tech affects every aspect of our daily lives, how we meet, how we learn, how we earn. It's now essential at all levels, from the way we communicate to how we are tackling global challenges such as climate change, healthcare, and the cost of living crisis. Technology is the driving force of change, and it's an opportunity we all know we should all be embracing. So, Wales Tech Week was created more than just an event. It underpins our shared commitment as a community to use technology to better improve our organizations, our society, and we hope, our planet. Also, a thriving technology sector is critical to economic growth. And this wouldn't be possible without the people that toil behind the scenes, driving innovative transformation. So this is why we're all here, to connect, to collaborate, and ultimately do business with each other. We can use tech to survive and thrive in turbulent times. So as we embark on this week, let me highlight three key themes. Firstly, tech for good. Technology can and should empower and uplift individuals. Let Wales Tech Week serve as a reminder that inclusivity is not a nice to have, it's a must have. It's an opportunity for us to work together to bridge the digital divide, to amplify underrepresented voices, and create an industry that reflects the diversity of who it serves. And there is a hard-nosed business case for this. Expand the talent pool and escape group think that can stifle innovation. Secondly, tech for the planet. The pursuit of innovation and progress can and must align with our planet. Clean energy, paperless platforms, carbon counting, and other key challenges are readily being solved with tech. Digital transformation and sustainability go hand in hand. Last, but far from least, technology for tomorrow. The challenges we must plan for are intricate, but interconnected. Resilience relies on collective effort, from improving supply chains to applying cybersecurity. Together, we are stronger. So here at Wales Tech Week, we have brought together a remarkable array of speakers, a remarkable array of topics, exhibitors. We ask that you immerse yourself in the experience. Open your minds and your organizations to technology, and take advantage of the opportunities for growth and collaboration that are available here. Over the next 3 days, we'll enjoy a smorgasbord of activities. More than 75 exhibitors are here, including over 20 startups, some of whom are pitching for investment in the pitch platform. There are demo zones inside and outside. You saw the tanks on the way in, a little scary. A hologram technology that could well be the future of communications, high-tech vehicles, as I mentioned, and virtual reality. Panel discussions will cover topics including artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, manufacturing tech, and much more, and what this could all mean for jobs, business. On Wednesday, the panel discussions are dedicated to talent for tech, with sessions for employers on improving talent recruitment, management, and discussions to inspire potential tech-curious workers, designed with school pupils, students, graduates, and career changers in mind. So, before I welcome our first keynote speaker to the stage, on behalf of Wales Tech Week, may I express my gratitude to all the partners, exhibitors, sponsors, and speakers for their dedication to this event and the collaboration on the vision that has been set forth. Should take a moment also, on behalf of us all, to thank the technology team for putting on this extraordinary event. I know that Avril doesn't like her name being mentioned, but if you see someone called Avril Lewis, she's behind this and she's done an extraordinary job. They've been the driving force to showcase Wales on this global stage. So, let's be open-minded, full of optimism. This is where tech meets opportunity, where we can drive for positive change and shape a brighter future for ourselves, our organizations, for Wales and beyond. It's my pleasure to introduce the first guest speaker, our first keynote. I had the pleasure of sitting with him at dinner last night. He's a very interesting man. We've centered this discussion around artificial intelligence, the use of large language models, machine learning, and how it will revolutionize and how it will affect society. It will do so far quicker than the internet ever did. We're at the beginning of a new technology curve, that's for certain. So the opening keynote, entitled AI and Machine Learning, Friend or Foe, is Danilo, why did I call you that? Good start. Danilo McGarry. He's a global digital leader in designing, delivering, and scaling numerous board-level technology and operations and critical initiatives through effective enterprise-wide digital vision and strategy. This is good stuff. He's recognized as a top 200 business innovator, one of the top 50 innovators, and influential people in AI. He's written hundreds of publications, interviews, done a number of keynote speeches, and courses on AI, technology, and innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, it gives me great pleasure to welcome Danilo McGarry to the stage.
Thanks, Elliot. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Very happy to be here. And again, thank you for the organizers for inviting us and giving us this great event. So, you're all very brave Monday morning to be talking about AI. But what I promise you is that by the end of this 20 minutes, you will understand a little bit more about AI. I'm sure some of you know about it already. But most importantly, you will understand the new capabilities of AI, what it can do, and some of the newest stuff that has just come out, which I'm sure will be jaw-dropping. So why am I here on stage? As Alid said, I've been doing this for almost 20 years. I was ex-head of AI for Citigroup, one of the world's largest banks, and also head of AI for United Health Group. Those of you who don't know, in the US, United Health Group run basically all of the healthcare system for the US. It's the 5th largest company in America. And just an astonishing fact, if you combine the revenue of Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, and some other very large banks, you still don't reach the global revenue of United Health Group. It's just an absolute monster of a company, 300,000 people. And during that time, I was lucky enough to advise governments on how to set up AI, how to use AI for security and many other national security aspects, and also on boards of many companies on how to use this stuff for good and also for creating new products and services. So if you're not going to listen to me, hopefully you listen to some of the most powerful people in the world, such as Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google. Recently, in an interview for 60 Minutes, I think it's an Australian documentary company, he was explaining when Google Gemini and Google Bard, which is a generative AI systems that Google is setting up, that they were training the models, calibrating it, etc. And somebody, just for a joke, queried it in Bengali, which is a language of Bangladesh. And lo and behold, it came back with a perfect answer in perfect grammar. Something that nobody had ever taught the system. It learned it completely by itself. That's pretty scary. That's the equivalent of you sending your child into a maths class, and it comes out speaking Spanish. But not just saying hola and señor, but learning perfect Spanish, be able to write literature in Spanish, and understand some of the most complex texts in Spanish. And nobody had ever taught him how to do that. So that's the kind of power of generative AI. Generative, again, being a type of AI system that can create things. I'm sure some of you have used it for emails and writing poems and speeches and all kinds of things. But it's a lot more than that, and it's a lot more powerful than that. Now we're going to the topic of general artificial intelligence, which is different to generative artificial intelligence. So just a couple of months ago, I was invited by Elon to join a conversation with a couple of US government and officials and some other tech people in this space. And basically, after an hour or so, we concluded that in just 4 or 5 years, we will have something called general artificial intelligence. So just as you're getting your head wrapped around generative AI, there's also general AI coming as well. So what is general AI? General AI is a system, an AI system, that can do anything a human can do, or a collective of humans, but much better. And that's the key word, doing it much better. So if you had to build a bridge, for instance, and you got the world's best engineers, and you put general AI to solve the same problem, it'll be able to do it much faster, and it'll probably be able to design a much better bridge as well. So this is just 4 or 5 years away. And just to remind you, we're in October, so this year is already gone, so we're talking 3 to 4 years now. So time goes extremely quickly. And if you can wrap your head around some of the things that are coming out in the analyst reports from McKinsey, Goldman Sachs Analytics, Bloomberg, Bain, all of the top consultancy companies in the world, they're all pretty much saying that AI, the new form of AI, of generative AI and general AI, is going to add anything between $7 to $15 trillion, not billions, $1 trillion to the world economy. And just for context, the world GDP is roughly around 90 to 100 trillion. So it's a significant driver of change, of creating new opportunities. And just speaking to somebody earlier on, I was comparing it a little bit to how it was in the old days when there was a whole industry around horses, right? You get around by horses, there'll be people that take care of horses, places for horses to stay, food for horses, etc. And it was a main type of transportation. When cars came in, it created absolute havoc. There were even wars in certain countries. So imagine that, but times by millions of times bigger. This is basically going to change everything that you do in basically every industry that you work in. All the way from not needing coding developers anymore in just 4 or 5 years. So imagine, a couple of years ago, you would imagine that a coder is one of the safest jobs that there is. But coders will not be needed anymore in that time frame. All the way for doing things which are very humane, like selling things and talking to people. A lot of that stuff can get improved and even automated by generative AI as well. And dare I say, it can even help law companies to become more technologically advanced as well, who previously only had DocuSign as the biggest technological achievement. So writing contracts, due diligence, doing legal research, all of that can be done by AI now as well. So basically, there isn't an industry or a job that this doesn't touch. It is extremely powerful. But the biggest thing now is it's very accessible. Old AI systems, you had to have huge amounts of data scientists and engineers to set it up, and it was always very niche, always for a very particular topic. But this can really be applied to any industry now, and it's very accessible to anyone for a very low price entry point. So all of you in this room, if you run companies or if you work in a company, there is literally no excuse not to get involved in this. My 8-year-old son is using Gen AI today, and he can use it extremely well. So maybe you saw a couple of months ago in Hollywood, there was a big upheaval about script writers and movie makers going on strike. That was because of AI. So script writers were having problems with film directors wanting to generate scripts using Gen AI, saying that it wasn't fair, that was their job, that they are true professionals in that. Well, to be honest, a lot of things are now being created with generative AI in terms of scripting. Even movie makers such as graphic designers and video editors are starting to get augmented by generative AI now as well. So you can create entire movies with Runway and Midjourney and a couple of other AI systems. Again, $20, $30 a month, very accessible. There's a company that generated an infinite number of South Park episodes by using this technology. Not that we need any more South Park, but there you go. So again, very low entry point. And the biggest criticism to AI was that it wasn't intelligent because it couldn't create. Well, it can create, and it can create things much faster and much more creatively than a human can. I'm not saying it's perfect. You still need to have that human input. You still need to have an expert to help it out. But it's a huge augmentation to what people do today, even in the creative industry, which was always something seen as impossible only 3 or 4 years ago. If you go into how we learn, how we develop, so for those of you in learning development, for those of you that deliver courses, you can today create a perfect digital version of yourself by using some of these solutions up here. My favorite today is DeepReal. A couple of months ago, I completely copied myself. I don't think the world needs more of me, but I couldn't be in many places at once. I wanted to deliver courses faster. I had the responsibility to teach people about AI and all these huge amounts of changes coming. I ran a poll on my LinkedIn recently where I generated a video using this technology. And I asked people, is this me or is this not me? 87% of people said they thought it was me or they just couldn't tell. It was that perfect. So even when we talk about, digitally copying actors, digitally copying CEOs when they want to talk to clients for their workforce, digitally copying people that want to deliver courses, there's no need anymore for lights, camera, action. There's no need for models to be flown all the way across the other side of the world. You can digitally copy them. And in fact, many fashion houses are already doing this today, such as Gucci, Louis Vuitton, etc. They have copied a lot of their models and digitally dressed them, and they look perfect every time, with a fraction of the cost, but a much faster delivery. Maybe you've heard about GenAI Vision that's come out. So you can do anything from taking a picture of a furniture, and it can tell you exactly how to build it and exactly what tools to use at what time. Or you can go to a restaurant and you can take a picture of your food and you think, gosh, I love this. I would love to be able to make it, but I'm not a Michelin star chef. How do I make it? You can take a picture of it and GenAI can tell you how to do it. Every ingredient and every step of how to prepare that food, all from one photograph. Recently as well, you're able to take pictures of your scans. So X-rays, all kinds of scans. And it can give you a perfect report of what's wrong with that picture and how you can even fix your health problem as well. Always with the caveat, of course, that it's not a medical professional, but it's much better than some of the GPs I've been to, which Google my symptoms and come up with what I should do next. I've seen stories of families that have taken their children to 17 different doctors, and the doctor could not diagnose what was wrong with the child. Somebody ran the results through ChatGPT, and it created the prognosis, and it helped save that child's life. I've seen people also rescue their dogs from being put down as well. So numerous lives are being saved already with this technology. And these are just normal people taking a picture of their scans and asking for help. So just imagine how the healthcare industry could look in just the next 6 to 12 months with more people getting access to this as time goes on. So I think you'll agree this is pretty powerful stuff. And I think when you leave this room, you should definitely consider this as a new passion of yours or a new hobby. Because if you don't, I'm pretty sure you will fall behind, and you will fall behind very quickly. You see, AI is not going to replace you or replace your job. It's a person who is curious next to you, who does a similar job, that will do that. If you understand the power of this and what it can do to you, your companies, and your roles, you can definitely change and also stay relevant with the times. I'm not sure if you knew, but Microsoft acquired 50% of OpenAI, which is the company that created ChatGPT. They paid $10 billion for 50% of the company. And what they're doing today is they are incorporating GenAI into everything Microsoft does. So into your emails, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. For instance, you can ask GenAI to help you manage your mailbox, answer to emails based on previous things that it knows that you're doing. Even prioritize for you which are the most important emails that have come in that day. If you're in 2 or 3 meetings at a time, which does happen to some of you, it certainly happens to me, you can't go to all those meetings, you can ask GenAI to go to one of those meetings for you. If somebody's needing you or calling you out, they can ask you to join that meeting. And it can take notes of what happened in that meeting and also generate pretty much perfect meeting minutes as well. If you're an accountant using Excel and you're crunching numbers, you're trying to put together your financial statements for the company, GenAI can help you with that as well. If you're a salesperson going into a client pitch, last minute you got told, you got invited, you need to go tomorrow morning to pitch something to a client, you can generate that as well. In fact, this very presentation that I have was generated by GenAI with some tweaks to it. It was pretty much 90% of the way there. So as you see, most of you being Microsoft users, you're going to be impacted by this already. And a lot of companies I've seen are not training their people on how to use this stuff. They're not even mentioning it. It's just something that happens and is discussed in the corridors. But in a couple of months, everybody in this room is going to have access to Copilot from Microsoft. And whether you like it or not, everybody in your workforce is going to be figuring out how to use it. And if you are a person in HR or in training and development, I encourage you to start setting up these courses to help people on how to use this stuff so that you don't create panic. So no matter what industry you are in, pretty much every company has an IT department, a HR department, finance, and marketing. The numbers there pretty much show you the impact that GenAI can have on these departments. We're talking anything between 20 to 60%. So what does that mean? If this is embraced in the right way and you utilize all the potential that GenAI has, you could either replace up to 20 to 60% of that department, or you could do 20 to 60% more work with the same amount of people. So we're not talking about, a fraction a few minutes here and there. We're not talking about 1 or 2% like you have in competitive sports. We're talking about a complete revamp of how a company operates. So whenever I join a board of a company, the main thing I talk about, of course, is AI and how it should be central to the company's DNA. And very quickly, they realize that they need to change their agenda, they need to change their objectives around AI, because this is the single biggest commercial opportunity in the world. It's worth more than the green movement, getting rid of hydrocarbons, to give you an idea. So with a lot of commercial potential comes the question of ethics. Should this be done? And if so, should it be done for good, like Alid mentioned? Well, I can tell you that most companies are trying to use this in the right way. They're trying to use this responsibly. But we can't control what people do. And where there is money, there's going to be greed, unfortunately. And I do spend a lot of my time, even if it is for free, trying to educate governments on how to get their heads around this. I did have a minister from a country I won't mention, just a short while ago asked me, where is the cloud, show me? Because they literally thought there was something in the cloud. So things like that worry me. But I won't stop trying. I will keep going. But if anything that you could do when you leave this room is look into this a little bit more, research about it. There's definitely a lot of work to be done at government level, at regulation level, law side of things. But also, in yourselves, be curious. Open up your minds to this. This is not something that's going to go away. Like I said, the single biggest commercial opportunity that exists today is AI. And it's going to change completely how you live, how you work. And already, I think a lot of people, they're kind of on autopilot mode. They don't really realize, but AI is in pretty much everything you do. It's in your cars, it's in your phone suggesting what you should be looking at. It's in how you commute. It's in how you make your decisions. It's in how you see your news. AI is already deeply embedded in your life, and it's already deeply influencing how you behave and what you do. So I think just as you're walking around today, as you go home, and as you come in to work the next day or come back to the event, just try to be a little bit more pragmatic. Question, is this AI? Has AI helped me do this? Has AI helped me do that? And you'll realize that it's already a huge influence in your life. But now its power and its ability to do different things has gone up exponentially. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I didn't mean to scare you. I meant to educate you. And again, if you need to look at any interesting places, if you need any more advice, just reach out. I have a team of people that monitors all the social media accounts. You can hit me up on LinkedIn or by email. I'm also available on Instagram and TikTok. We're not doing TikTok dances just yet. But definitely leave this room knowing that in a blink of an eye, things would be very, very different. So sign up to as many newsletters as you can, AI courses, and try to join these events as much as you can, because I think just having people talk to you about it and ease you into it, you'll know what to do next. So thank you very much, and we'll take questions now for about 10 minutes.
Thank you, Danilo. Here, why don't you sit that way and everyone can see you. Thank you very much. It is both scary and raises some fantastic opportunities for us as individuals and as companies. We have some time for questions, so as I sort of do this little moment, if there are questions in your head, Katrina's at the back with a microphone. Do put your hand up, and we'll take any questions. Danilo, one of the first things that I came across when AI was surging through Silicon Valley, which, as you know, I'm involved with, was the ability to use prompt. And there was the rise of what's known in the Valley as the prompt engineer. And I also noticed that you can now apply for jobs as a prompt engineer. And when I looked into it, it was all about the way in which you use AI. And of course, many of us have had our first introduction with ChatGPT. Is that a phenomena that you're seeing more and more?
Yeah. So for those people who don't know, so generative AI systems, you can talk to it. It's the first type of AI system you can do that. So that's called prompt. But to ask a question, if you ask the right question, you'll get the best possible answer. If you ask the right thing, if you ask a terrible question, you'll get a very vague answer. So this is called prompt engineering. And all the AI systems, you'd have to tag things and train it multiple times, thousands of times, to read documents and things like that. But with the new type of AI systems, Gen AI, you just have to ask it the right question. And once you've perfected that question, then it becomes, in its sense, a type of training algorithm for that AI model to then use for its next applications. So for instance, if you're trying to go through very complex contracts, very complex documents, trying to find a particular number or a set of numbers, you would ask a question. But maybe you get different sets of documents from different types of companies and so on. This is very big in the banking world, financial industries. So typically you'd hire 50 to 100 people before to train AI models to tag all those documents, and you never finish tagging those documents because always new types of documents will be coming in. But with the new Gen AI models, you set up the right prompt in a couple of days, let's say, of just trying and testing it in different types of documents. But lo and behold, after those couple of days, and even let's say weeks at worst case, and this is only a couple of people doing it, 3 or 4 people, you then have a perfect system that can look at the exact right amount or the exact right information you're looking at any type of document, no matter if it comes in a completely different format. So that saves already the company millions usually. Most companies, they spend anything around 20 to 30% of their time organizing documents or taking information out of documents. So this is a huge area that Gen AI can be applied in. And again, with prompt engineering, it's just a completely different approach to how to get the end result. So far less people, far less time to get to the end result with a far less amount of investment, but something that is able to then survive under any condition if you throw any document at it. So really interesting to see. That's one example how banks are using it today. And prompt engineering is key to that.
I was told that as an ordinary human being, that the skill set to build is the ability to prompt accurately. And that will increase your capability and efficiency in use. Do we have any questions from the floor? Oh, good. There's 3 hands up that I could see then quickly. Sir, good morning.
Good morning. I'm Matt Jones from the Computational Foundry. 35 years ago, I was involved in building some of the first speech recognition systems with Microsoft. And I was just wanting you to clarify, really, your kind of enthusiasm and expectation that we'll have general purpose AI in 4 to 5 years' time. I think we'll never see it, certainly not in my lifetime and not my kids' lifetime. It's been a goal of AI researchers for a very long time, and every time it's hyped up and then it goes away again. What we need to do is to amplify human ability at producing super tools. So I was just wondering, could you perhaps clarify what you meant by general purpose AI and why you think it will come this time in this AI summer? Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
A great question. So like the dot-com bubble, a lot of hype. But I think we can all agree the internet is a pretty amazing thing and it has changed our lives, right? So what tends to happen is, obviously there's a lot of hype around things. Media doesn't help by putting out films like The Terminator and things like that. But over time, things do catch up, industries do adjust. But it does take around a decade for those things to happen. So there's always a hype period. It kind of dies away while everybody's busy trying to solve the technical challenges around it. And then it resurfaces up. Not as quickly as the hype did, but it does come back quite quickly. So I think the same will happen with general AI. The reason why I think that is because it's the first AI system that you can talk to. Very low barriers to entry. Like I said, my 8-year-old is doing it. It's very cheap to put together. You don't need to have any technical skills. It helps, obviously, and you can get help from people that do, but you can learn those very quickly. So there's very few technologies like that have come around. There's always a barrier to entry in terms of the price, or it's very difficult to use. So this kind of ticks a lot of boxes that makes it very scalable. So I think that's one reason why it will live up to the fad, or the craze. Why do I think, well, I don't know if it's going to be a good thing, to be honest. If I'm in this for 20 years, but if I had a choice, I would like to pause everything for about 10 years, until we can catch up. Because I think this is one of the few technologies that are really going to have a massive disruption to our industries, to the way we work, I mean, absolutely everything. And I think after COVID, if you look at mental health, mental health requirements have gone up by something like 40 to 50%, depending what country you're in. And with new generations coming into workplace, Generation Y or Z, they've grown up with this technology, but the structure that you get as a baby boomer or Generation X from having to follow rules and regulations and governance structures, that's not in place as much anymore as it was decades ago. So if you have something this powerful, but you don't have the right governance and structure, you're going to have a couple of hiccups along the way. So I can say with pretty much full certainty that there will be some bad uses of Gen AI. But, and I did a speech about this, I think about 4 or 5 years ago, I did explain that we as humans, we've been put through this conditioning that we need to produce things faster. We need to behave like robots. If you look at the Rockefeller and Ford eras where they created the first conveyor belts, a human put in a bolt, another one putting a wheel, the other one putting in a windscreen. That doesn't make a lot of sense. We have only 2 hands. We've only got 10 fingers. We're limited by these physical limitations. So I think, as humans, we were never meant to be robots. We were never meant to mass produce things. We were never meant to do that. So I think when Gen AI comes in, or general AI comes in, it will force us to question, what does it mean to be human? And I think it will force us to redefine that. If you take, we were talking about generations before, if you take Generation X and baby boomers, they're defined by their jobs. When you meet them in a party, it's very interesting. It's the first question they're going to ask you, what do you do? If you meet a Generation Y or Z person, they're just going to ask you, what do you like? It will be totally different. A job might come into the conversation later on. And these are the people in power today for most companies. If you take away people's need for work or need to work as much, what are people going to be left with doing? Just partying and drinking and doing all those fun stuff? That will get boring very quickly. So very quickly we'll be forced into this question. What is the reason for our existence? Why are we here? What is a human supposed to be doing? And I think 20 years from now, the only 2 jobs that will exist is either you're in the AI system, building AI things, or you're taking care of people with the growing elderly population that we have, and the kind of triangle flip that we have on our demographics. So is that a good thing? Potentially. Is it going to help us find new sources of energy and become interplanetary species? Maybe. So I honestly don't know the answer to that question, but I think there is a lot of hope in us rediscovering what it means to be human and why are we here, and answering these questions that we hide away from behind our phones and having very busy jobs. We're put here, I guess, at least I believe, for a reason, and we need to discover what that is instead of trying to hide away from it. So I think general AI will force us into that conversation where we can start exploring that a little bit better, and I think it's going to drive a whole new wave of innovation and what should we be doing with our lives, which I think could be very exciting, but definitely along the way there'll be many, many hiccups. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you very much. I see 2 more hands up, and somebody with a microphone. Hi. Gentlemen.
Hello. Ooh, that's very loud. Good morning. It's Joseph Connor from Careful AI. I agree with everything you've just said. However, we need to take some practical steps forward, and the UK government's gone some way to set up Frontier AI to have some sort of meter on multimodal type technologies that we're all going to have access to. If you accept that they're going to be very compelling technologies, what would you have us not train them on? Because in essence, if everybody has access to that technology, we're in essence training it to do lots of things. And I'm curious to think, well, do we not need to have a view as a nation and as people about what we don't train it on? Because the simple use of using it is training it.
So I guess the question was what not to apply this to. Is that right? So, interesting topic. There is obviously the EU AI Act that you think you might have seen have come out, where the EU got together, agreed on a couple of rules and regulations on things that should and should not happen. So things like using AI for facial recognition in public places without consent, that's not allowed. So a bunch of things came out of that. The problem is that for there to be rules around what you can and cannot use it for, the government has to put that in place. And it's very unlikely that all the world governments will come together and agree on this. So I'll give you an example. When ChatGPT was launched in November last year, October, November, immediately Italy and a couple of other countries blocked OpenAI from their national grid. But very quickly they started realizing that if they block it, they're going to stop innovation in their country, while all the other countries are going after it as fast as possible. So this is the issue with a country coming up with some rules and regulations around this technology, because not every country will follow the same path. And it could be that the country that decides to do that then falls behind. It might be a good strategy to do to buy some time, but in the long run, it's going to hurt how well that country can compete in the global scale. So I think every country should come up with their own rules and regulations and should try to interact in the global community. But you've got some countries that just don't get along, right? We won't name them here for political reasons. But some countries are going after this for the last decade, and they're providing money to the private sector like crazy. We're talking billions. While some countries, Western countries, let's say, they're just letting the private sector get on with it and kind of hoping for the best, not putting too much rules and regulations for now. But there's a massive difference between, say, how China is doing this, how the US and UK are doing this. In the end, today we have China that has a hugely integrated AI system into their economy. Everything people do is tracked by AI. Even if they cross the street without being, if they're jaywalking, they can lose their credit score. So is that a good thing? In my opinion, no. But is that a way to kind of regulate things and provide access in the right ways and give good people access to better things? So there's no right or wrong answer here. It's a bit like euthanasia and all these other controversial topics. But it's a very hard topic to align on because every country will have their own agenda. So yeah, tough one to solve.
Danilo, do you feel, to the gentleman's question, like, do you personally view any part of industry, any vertical, anything that should not be affected by AI?
I think the answer to that is not what should it specifically not be applied to, but it's more around how does it happen. So for instance, I think there should be a tax. I've been pushing for this for years. Funny enough, Bill Gates started pushing for it as well. People probably listen to him. On a tax around using robotics and using AI for companies. So if a company is gaining revenue by using this, they should pay an extra tax. That extra tax should go into training and redevelopment courses for people who have to change their jobs or have to learn new skills. And that will help kind of people adapt and get back onto the bandwagon, but with the AI bandwagon on it. So I think that's the right approach of doing things. If that's exactly the right approach or not, I don't know. But I think it's more around not where you should apply it, but how should you apply it? How should you transition people away from their traditional jobs into the new jobs that come? I think he's got his hand up again. We can talk offline as well, for sure.
Hi there.
Ginny Bailey from Drum. We represent leadership training and coaching. And I noticed that on your screen you said there's some improvements. We can all see the AI improvements in the industry. One of the problems we battle with is people with psychometric testing and looking for shortcuts, identifying themselves as the blue and then behaving like that, or a set of numbers or a particular place on a dial. And getting people to make space and really genuinely think is really difficult. And one of the challenges I see with AI is people looking for those shortcuts. And actually, AI is so embedded, you said in your closing remarks, that we don't even realize that those aren't our decisions. To what extent do you think we're actually going to have our capacity to think eroded for free will still further?
Great question, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Really easy questions on a Monday morning. So, yes, I've been hearing a lot about this, people using AI in interviews, in tests. If you go back to a time when we used to do mental arithmetic for maths, and the calculator came out. I mean, I remember at that time, teachers, headmasters saying, "Oh, this is appalling. People won't think anymore, and people won't be able to do mental arithmetic anymore." But what has happened is we now have more computational power to solve bigger mathematical problems. So I think something similar will happen. We're going to maybe lose the ability to think about simple things. We're going to ask for help for pretty much everything. But it is going to give us an extra amount of computational power to solve some much bigger problems. I think that's the upside to it. The downside is that if there is a private company controlling an AI system that powerful, it can manipulate you into doing what it wants you to do. And that's the danger with it, and that's why it's so important to have rules and regulations in this space. So, pros and cons. I think it's going to help us solve bigger problems that we haven't had the chance to, like new energy sources and things like that. But is it going to stop people from being creative? I don't know. I have filmmakers, friends who are filmmakers, songwriters, who today are writing much more interesting content because they have that augmentation, they have that help. So it just depends how you look at it. I think it can be a good and a bad thing, but not to shy away from the question, but like with anything, right? Pros and cons. But I personally feel that this is going to help us solve big challenges that we don't yet have solutions for today.
2 more questions, 3 more questions. By the way, time-wise, we're pretty good, right? We've got the Minister for the Economy joining us at 11 o'clock. So we could take questions for 55 minutes, right? Now, I don't think we'll do that, but we're not overtly pressured on time if you're finding this super interesting. And if you do need to get up and go, we won't be offended as long as you don't all do it at once. That would be great. So some more questions. Yeah? Great, thank you.
There's
I think the lady and the gentleman there, I've noticed, and just show me your hands if you've got another question. I can just keep an idea. Gentlemen.
I think online as well, we've got some questions on the tablet.
Yeah, the tablet failed.
Alex forgot
so
that.
the AI
Has it
on the
failed?
tablet's not working. So,
Hi, thank you, Danilo, for a very interesting presentation. My name is Fraser Lawrence, the International Baccalaureate. And touching on a little bit on the previous question, I'd like to know, you talked about your son using AI and the fast pace at which it changes. What do you see as the main challenges and opportunities facing education and assessment of future generations?
Yeah.
thank you.
So I think the 2 industries that will benefit the most from AI is healthcare and education. So I've had the pleasure of consulting for some very interesting private schools where they're no longer using pen and paper, they have tablets for their students. And those tablets are giving them multiple choice questions, etc. And when they go home, they get tailored homework. So if, let's say throughout the day they've been making mistakes on algebra and maths, for homework, guess what? They're going to have algebra. So you start getting into these very tailored educational systems and very tailored educational curriculums. So you no longer have this tradition where, for English, maths, or science, you're in the high, medium, or low group. You have your own education plan. So I think in the near future, students will be able to go through the entire education journey, if they're very smart, in half the time, because it's going to be tailored for them and their abilities. Whereas today we have this system of kind of one box, kind of fits everybody. So I think in classrooms they're going to get a lot more digitized. Teachers having to mark exam papers and it takes days or weeks to get the results, that's going away. All the exams are going to be digital and the results will come out instantly. And then we'll give you a coaching session about what you need to learn next and then tailor all of your homework in your next classrooms towards that. So I think there's some huge changes coming in the education sector, but unfortunately, only in the private sector for now. Public schools are going to miss out unless governments get their heads around it. And this is the thing that actually personally makes me the saddest about the whole situation, is the fact that we have a whole new generation coming into the workforce who are very, very ill prepared to deal with all of this change that's coming because of AI. If we just taught our children a little bit more about AI and focused on that and just put them in an environment that's a little bit more tech-focused, they'll be much better equipped to deal with the challenges coming ahead. So yeah, huge changes coming in education, but will trickle down into the general system.
Thank you. Madam.
Hi, I'm Kate Rimington from the summit organisers, Technology Connected, and I had a very similar question because we've got the Talent for Tech event on Wednesday, part of which is aimed at young people. And so my question, following on from the education point, is what advice you would give young people in terms of how they learn to use AI? Because I feel as a parent that the danger is children will just regurgitate what AI tells them to say, and presumably we need to teach them to think more critically about what AI is producing and what it can achieve.
Thank you.
So I have relatively controversial views on this. So forgive me if we don't agree.
We like controversial. That's good.
So I think because the education system is taking so long to catch up, and even universities, it doesn't make a lot of sense today for a child to be in education with the current system, unless it changes, post sixth form or post their 18 years of age. Because pretty much today, a child or then a young adult can learn anything that they like. They can learn any skill they like. They can become a solopreneur, entrepreneur, etc. And I think the way that the gig economy is going to develop is that having full-time employees is going to become even more expensive. And companies won't be able to keep up with that. So what's going to start happening is everyone is going to start bidding for work like vendors do for tech-type work, etc. So if a bank, let's say, has to put together their financial statements, they're not going to have a full-time employee to do solely that job like they do today. They're going to pitch it out to the market to people that know how to do that, and people will pitch in, do the work, and come out. So I think the freelance market is going to increase exponentially. I think the CIPD, which is the Organization for Human Resources, also released a paper on this a year ago, saying by 2030, 50% of the developed world will be freelancers. That's a huge jump from where we are today, I think 18%. So for young children, obviously I think having that structure going into university, if they can afford it, go into it, but the cost of that is increasing over time, and debt's becoming a huge problem. But if the child is a little bit more entrepreneurial, wants to learn things, is very curious, can apply themselves, and have a good environment around them, a good structure around them to support them, I would really encourage children post-18 to go into the solopreneur environment, because that's where I think the world is going with the current technologies we have.
Interesting. Cool. Very interesting answer. I think we've got one more question. Sir, the microphone's on its way to you. Hang there for a second. Here comes Katrina.
Sure. Hi, Shubham here from Deep Sights. So I come from the cybercrime investigation background. We've been seeing a lot of types of cybercrimes happening day in and day out. Deepfakes being generated, AI voice scams, especially during elections, and so lots of cybercrimes are happening using AI, and right now it's very easy for anyone with very less skill to use AI. So of course the government is also trying to come up with the new policies and rules and regulations. But does all the onus fall on the governments, or as researchers also some of the the weightlifting can be done by them? And if yes, what are the possibilities?
Thank you.
So on the cyberspace, I wrote a newsletter about this. There's going to be people, so hackers, all kinds of people that build AI systems to take information out of companies, to hack them faster, etc. But I also see a lot of companies developing AI systems to protect themselves. So there's going to be AI system for good versus AI systems for bad, and it will balance out at the end. Hopefully, the companies that have more resources will be able to build better AI systems than the ones trying to attack them. But it's always going to be a constant battle. But that's no different to hacking how it happens today or how it happened 20 years ago. Good hackers could hack companies and they try to protect themselves. It's the same story. The fact that everybody has the same tooling is the one that kind of makes the whole playing field fairer. So we'll be using Gen AI to protect and to attack. It'll be the same thing, in my opinion, now.
Sorry, just to follow up to that, sorry. So, okay, regarding the companies, of course, a lot of systems are being developed. What about fake news dissemination? like the normal general populace doesn't have access to these tools and stuff. So is there something that maybe, you know, some type of system that can basically, you know, be integrated, which kind of tells everyone, okay, okay, this is something fake, or this is not fake, or this is real or not so real? So
Do you think more about deep fakes being used to create fraud, to get people to pay you things because they think you're the real person, etc.? So at the moment, the thinking around that is there'll be rules and regulations that come in that oblige you to say if that's a real person or not. But we all know, we're not naive, that you know, bad actors will be using that in the right way. But I'm pretty sure most governments will be putting out rules around the fact that you have to disclose if it's a digital avatar or, you know, if it's a copy of a person, etc. But again, the black market won't use it in that way. So let's see how it goes. It's going to be scary for a while. That's what I meant by hiccups. It was really around the deep fake side of things. But all we can do is hope for the best and keep learning and cross our fingers a little bit. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. We're going to wrap up. I feel at the end of this session, there's a quote that's come into my head. I don't know if you've ever come across the law of requisite variety theory. Boy, does that make me sound intelligent.
It's Monday morning, Alex.
And it is the concept that there must be as much control, there must be as much variety in the control as there is variety in the threat. I'll say that one more time. There must be as much variety in the control as there is variety in the threat. And it reminds me of my days in cybersecurity, right, where that exact statement is true, that we can pick that statement up and apply it to the AI world. Because the longer this conversation went on, the more depressed we were feeling. You can sense it in the room, right? But when you think about it, the opportunities for efficiency, productivity, learning, and the advancement of humankind that AI affords, to me, I hope, and we'll know in 20, 30, 40 years' time, is far greater than the downside, providing we put the right amount of variety in the control as fast as possible. So, thank you for all of your insights. Thank you for taking questions. And by the way, there's some great questions from the floor, so thank you all very, very much indeed. And we hope to see you back here at 11 o'clock, because we've got the Minister of the Economy to address us here in this hall. Thank you all for coming. Thank you very much.